Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos. I do believe that top four now could be gone by for Manchester United, despite that it is still early on in the season. So obviously, as you all know, Chelsea did beat Burnley by 4 goals to 0. So now they are obviously fourth, and I think are 10 points ahead of Manchester United. And I do believe now, regarding today's results, we are sitting 15th in the league. And don't forget, we are sitting here just around 2 points above relegation. So obviously, take into account that we do have to win the game against Norwich tomorrow to keep our hopes alive for that top four. So we can't afford to draw or we can't afford to lose. Obviously, Solsjaker is aware of how much of a difficult game it is going to be against Norwich because, Norwich are a well-organised team. I know they haven't won, since they beat Manchester City 3-2 earlier on in the season, but they can pose a threat. They can score goals, defensively, where they are quite poor, but they have, got some good players of Norwich. But, on paper, Manchester United should win this game. But it's going to be very, very difficult. And I think, Solskjaer has revealed that he's he's probably going to stick with three at the back, like he has done in the last two games. And, to be fair, I think we've showed tactical flexibility in the last two games. And obviously, the last two games have been positive results. Got a good draw against Liverpool in our last league game and got a very, very vital win against, Partizan Belgrade on Thursday evening. Obviously, to end our run of 11 away games without a win. So it was a really, really good win against Partizan Belgrade, even though it wasn't the best performances. But, I think, this new formation, does seem to be working. And I think this formation, could turn around our season, possibly. Because we do know for the majority of this season that Solskjaer has been going over that 4-2-3-1 formation. We do know that that formation, hasn't been working. I think he's also used the 4-3-3 a couple of times. But he's analysed this new formation as Solskjaer, and, he said it's working really, really well because it obviously enables him, to stick with two attackers up top. But yeah, we have got games coming up thick and fast. We've got Norwich tomorrow. Then obviously, we go up against Chelsea in the Carabao Cup midweek. Then we go away to Bournemouth. So games are coming up thick and fast. But we do have to start winning games because we are now 9 games into the season. We've only won 2 of our first 9 games. We've drawn 4 and we've lost 3. So in that aspect, we've only registered 10 points out of possible 27, and we know that's nowhere near good enough, to our standards. But Solskjaer, has been totally blameless in the last 2 games. But obviously, for the majority of this season, a lot of Man United fans, including me, obviously have been criticising Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tactic because I will admit for the majority of this season, we have been tactically inept. I do probably believe that the expectations are too high for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Manchester United, and I think, he's aware of the expectations. He does have to exceed if he is to remain in the job at the football club, and obviously it's very, very imperative that Manchester United, get back into that top 4 this season, so we can obviously, get back into the Champions League. Obviously, due to our failure to qualify for the Champions League, I think that was one of the main factor reasons that went against us, during the course of the summer. Because obviously, if you're not in a Champions League football, then obviously it's going to be harder to attract players to the elite level. But I was obviously what I watched out some of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's press conference, building up to the game tomorrow. Tomorrow, like I updated you on my recent videos, and he interpreted, some of the stuff that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had mentioned, during his press conference. And he did say Norwich, do show a lot of courage. They do like to play their own way. So he is aware of the threat, that Norwich could cause to Manchester United. Obviously, anyway, Solskjaer has had to make a lot of alterations in the squad, reflecting on the amount of injuries that Man United have had. Some players have obviously now recovered from injury, which is very, very good news. It did actually say that we could miss up to 6 players for the game tomorrow. Obviously, as you all know, Solsjaker did a short on Wednesday. This was prior to the Partizan Belgrade game. That Paul Pogba, will be missing the game against Norwich. But Paul Pogba, I think he's missed the last 7. Has missed 7 of the last 9 games. I think in all competitions due to the ongoing foot injury that's been surrounding the player for a matter of weeks. But yeah, he definitely won't be in contention. I do also believe that Alex Tuanzebe is a doubt. Obviously, Alex Tuanzebe was, like as you all know, was initially named in the starting 11 against Liverpool, but obviously he suffered the hip injury during his warm up, so obviously Marcus Rojo had to take his place in the team, so he's a doubt. I think it's unknown when Tuanzebe will be back. I think it's also unknown when Diego Dalot will be back, because obviously Diego Dalot has been out with injury. Obviously, he's sustained quite a few injuries this season, but it's unknown, when he will be back. It's also been assured that Matic and Luke Shaw will not be involved tomorrow. Matic's injury is a minor problem. Luke Shaw's is obviously a hamstring injury. Luke Shaw hasn't played, since the 2-1 home defeat to Crystal Palace. But obviously now you've got a lot of Man United fans anywhere, despite the fact that Luke Shaw's our first choice left back, saying that we should play Brandon Williams ahead of Luke Shaw, because Brandon Williams has done really, really well in the games he's played, and he's made 2 appearances so far this season for Man United. He was the architect for Martial's penalty in the away win against Partizan Belgrade, and he did play at left wing back, and he's only 19 years of age. But like I mentioned on my last video that I did earlier on today, I think that Brandon Williams and James Garner, can earn first team promotions at Manchester United. So I do believe they'll get more opportunities. But it was a surprise solution that Solsjaker played two teenagers against Partizan Belgrade. It was good to see James Garner also making his full debut for the football club. But I thought both had a really, really good game. But Brandon Williams for me was the man of the match. And don't forget, he recently signed a new contract. But Luke Shaw is actually, like I mentioned, he's still our first choice left back. Like I mentioned, I know he's sustained a lot of injuries as a Man United player. Not to the same extent as Eric Bailly, but he's still sustained a lot of injuries. But I think prior to that and that, I think he's mainly had a good career with Manchester United. But I think Luke Shaw should be close now to regaining full fitness. We know that obviously Eric Bailly's still out. He's out until the end of the year. Obviously we know that Fossil Mensah's still out with injury. Jesse Lingard, of course, has just recently recovered from a hamstring injury, and I think he obviously hasn't performed to the standards as we all expected. Jesse Lingard, I said reflecting on his status at the football club, he should be putting much more better performances out. Obviously the good news is that Anthony Martial has just recovered from injury, like I mentioned. And, Solskjaer, recently said, he was unhappy with Anthony Martial and Marcus Rashford. I think he was unhappy, with defending them, up front. So he did criticise the non-existent, forwards. But, we only managed 1 shot on target against Partizan Belgrade, and that was the actual goal from Anthony Martial. And as you all know anywhere, we are struggling to create chances. We're struggling to score goals. So far in the league this season, we've only managed 10 goals in 9 league games. So in every game we have scored in this season, we've only managed to score 1 goal, except from the Chelsea game on the opening day of this season, because we did beat Chelsea by 4 goals to 0. But yeah, we are struggling to score goals, and it does some aspects of it, does replicate last season, because last season, we enjoyed a really, really difficult season. Last season we finished 6th, and we only managed 53 goals in the Premier League, last season. But don't forget, we are enjoying our worst start to a Premier League season for 3 decades. But we have done well in the last 2 games. But talking about Martial, I think before he sustained the thigh injury anywhere, that he enjoyed a really good start to the season. I think he can become a success at Manchester United. I don't think Martial has yet emulates that level. Still needs time. He needs still a bit more time than that. But yeah, very, very good player. It does predominantly play out wide on the left, but it got confirmed at the start of this season that Anthony Martial has been given that number 9 shirt because he seems to be more effective in that central position. Obviously, we've got quite a few attackers that can, play in that number 9. Martial can play the number 9, Rashford can play the number 9, and obviously, Mason Greenwood can play in the number 9. So they're all compatible in that aspect because they can all play the same positions, can that trio. But Martial's obviously, delivered 51 goals for Manchester United in all competitions, since his arrival from Monaco back in 2015. He has been here since the Louis van Gaal era. Martial now is into his 5th season as a Manchester United player. So it is good to see him back because, like I mentioned, he will add, more inspiration in that attacking third of the pitch. But Norwich are really, really struggling anyway. Norwich are sitting in the relegation zone at the moment. They are sitting 19th. We're only just 3 points above them. Like I said, the last time, we did play Norwich, was back under Louis van Gaal's second season, which was around 2016. We did beat Norwich by 1 goal to 0. So I actually believe that this game tomorrow, could replicate, that game back in 2016, because I think, we'll probably end up winning 1-0, or, it could end 1-1 draw. But Norwich have beaten us a few times. I think, the last time they beat us at Carrow Road was obviously back in 2012. I think they also beat us at Carrow Road back in 2005. But, Norwich, will definitely be up for this game because it's also, a must-win game for Norwich, from a Norwich perspective, obviously. Because obviously I think Norwich's expectations this season, will be to stay up. As you well know, obviously Norwich have had quite a few injuries themselves. But we have, it did say, as we were reading reports, that, we could miss up to 6 players. The good news is Solsjaker confirmed that David De Gea will be playing tomorrow. Obviously, David De Gea was rested against Partizan Belgrade. Obviously, he didn't even make the trip. Obviously, David De Gea, as you all know, had to withdraw from international duty the other week after, obviously, he had sustained an injury whilst he was on international duty with Spain. And obviously, the extent of the injury was unknown at the first, but obviously then got revealed that the injury wasn't as severe as we first feared. But there was a lot of doubts about him, playing against Liverpool. I expected him to miss the game against Liverpool, but he didn't. But if he hadn't missed the Liverpool game, that would have been the first game he missed in almost 7 years. But he didn't, and it was obviously good to see him play. But yeah, he will be playing tomorrow, I should presume. But yeah, Man United, we need to start getting wins under our belts. The performances need to start improving. We need to start getting better results. But I think now, what I've seen, I think the momentum is back in the team now. The confidence is back in the team, which is very, very good. But I think, Solskjaer, like I mentioned, will go with that 3-5-2 formation tomorrow. I can't see him, reverting back to the 4-2-3. When I'm actually surprised that Solskjaer, didn't revert back to the 4-2-3-1 against Partizan Belgrade. But, I think, a lot of Man United fans, despite that we've done well in the last 2 games, there's still the vast majority of them, are demanding Mulligan and Solskjaer out with the football club because, I still believe, from my perception, he isn't the right man for Manchester United, to elevate this club forward. Obviously, he's still getting certain Manchester United fans saying, that we should give him more time at the football club. And Solskjaer recently was discussing discussing our difficult transition period and that because obviously he knows that we are in transition. But Solskjaer is aware of what's going on, and obviously he wants his managerial tenure, to become successful at Manchester United. A lot of people believe us getting rid of Solskjaer now and wouldn't solve a lot of problems at the football club. But maybe he does need more time because analysing the majority of this Manchester United team, it isn't Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. The majority of this team is actually Jose Mourinho's because Jose Mourinho did recommend 11 players into the football club, and obviously now Solskjaer is inheriting the vast majority of them. There's some aspects to me that do credit Solskjaer. I've got some element of concerns about him. The things I do credit him for before that he has, got a lot of trustworthy in his young players. He also recommended 3 good players to the squad during the summer. We spent nearly £150 million on Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka and on Harry Maguire. And they've all enjoyed fantastic starts to their Manchester United careers. And, they've actually settled in, really, really well. And Solskjaer also did get rid of a lot of the deadwood, during the course of the summer. But despite the fact that a lot of players have left since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival, I still definitely believe there is more problematic players at the football club that do need to be moved on in January or next summer. But, it's good that, Solskjaer is obviously now making plans for January, Solskjaer's looking to get at least a couple of players in January. But like I mentioned, I think we'll do the vast majority of our transfer business next summer. So we'll look to sign 1 or 2 in January. I think we're looking to, sign at least 4 new players next year. I said in this year we need at least around 5 to 6 more players if we are to be back to being a competitive elite level football club. Because, during the summer, we addressed some of the problematic areas, which was very, very good. We got that experienced centre half in. And, Harry Maguire's obviously addressed our defensive deficiencies as well. We do look slightly better defensively this season. We obviously got the right back in for Wan-Bissaka. I did say, we needed to address that right-hand side, which we did. But, we still need to get a midfielder in, because that's one of the priority areas where Man United need to strengthen up, and we're missing creative impetus in that midfield. We need someone in that midfield that can, feed the attackers, someone who can create chances. We definitely need a striker, definitely. Solskjaer's obviously looking to bring 2 attackers in, because we need to see obviously more goals in the team, and we need someone that can be more effective in the box, someone that can, lead the lines, because we do look very, very exposed in that attacking line following the dismissal of Romelu Lukaku and Alexis Sanchez, and we failed to recruit replacements for Lukaku and Sanchez, during the summer. But we just need basically experience in that attacking line, because obviously, majority of the attackers we've got obviously are very, very young. Mason Greenwood's young, Rashford's young, Martial's young, Daniel James is young. So we need some experience in that attacking line. But obviously we'll look to bring a striker in January. But, in the next 3 to 4 windows anyway, like I mentioned, our recruitment has definitely got to improve, because, I think our recruitment's been very, very poor for several years. And obviously, that stems from the board. The blame stems from the board, because like I mentioned anyway, the board have been a liability for several years. Like I mentioned, with the poor recruitment and, the poor selection of managers. Obviously, the depth in our squad isn't good enough. And I think there's some Man United fans demanding our current board out. And basically, some are saying, we should demand a new board in. But, like I mentioned, definitely the board do need to ensure structural changes at the football club. There's also a lot of Man United fans criticising the board. You've also got a lot of Man United fans demanding Ed Woodward out of the football club, because he's compatible to the board, because he's also been a liability for several years. But, Ed Woodward and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer obviously have got the same perceptions at the moment. Solskjaer insists he's still the right man for Manchester United, and he's never felt like the job is too big for him. And obviously, Ed Woodward, insists that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, is 100%, the right man for Manchester United. So Ed Woodward basically said he's still backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, all the way. I know that reports were coming out the other week saying that, if we do fail to beat Norwich tomorrow, that could obviously, end Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tenure at Man United, or, his job, could be under serious jeopardy. Even if we were to lose to Norwich tomorrow, or draw and not win, I still think, Solskjaer, would remain at the football club, because we know that a massive rebuild is needed at Manchester United. But, my element of concerns I've got about Solskjaer is, like I do keep mentioning on my videos, that, he hasn't really got that managerial experience, not really to the highest level. I'll praise him for what he did at Molde. He did really, really good with Molde. He won a couple of Norwegian titles with them. Obviously, he got a lot of criticism, for what he produced at Cardiff. Obviously, he actually ended up getting Cardiff relegated. He only managed around 29 or 30 games for Cardiff, and I think his actual record at Cardiff, is actually worse, now worse than now, with Manchester United. So I think it was actually worse at Cardiff, because obviously he did, end up, getting Cardiff relegated. So he hasn't, for me, got any intuition on how to manage a big football club like Manchester United. I don't think, his philosophy, he doesn't have the right philosophy for this football club. He did actually say during the summer that he was following Alex Ferguson's philosophy. And I just don't think he's the right man for Man United, and I want his tenure to work out. Solskjaer's been at Man United overall now for around 10 months, so he's been here just under a year. He has been here just under a year, and you can say that Solskjaer's enjoyed this difficult seven and a half month tenure with a football club. He's 7.5 month tenure with a football club, because obviously it has all gone wrong since he got the job permanently. Don't forget, Solskjaer is on a 3-year contract with Manchester United. But reflecting back when he was the interim manager, he did really, really well. The results were good, the performances were good. He got the best out of these group of players. But, and he exceeded expectations and that, he won his first 8 games, he won 14 out of 19 in total. And obviously my perceptions were different regarding Solskjaer when he was the interim manager. I thought at that point he was the right man, to elevate Manchester United forward. But since he's got the job permanently over the 7 months, obviously my perception has changed regarding Solskjaer. But I think Man United have made quite a few mistakes in the last 6 or 7 years. One of the mistakes definitely was Man United giving Solskjaer the job. We should have never given the job. That was one mistake the football club did make, and in a way I do feel sorry for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because I think the club have put him in a very, very difficult position. Don't forget, recently Roy Keane came out as well. And he actually suggested that Manchester United, should sign Harry Kane. Solskjaer, obviously, reacted to Roy Keane's suggestions and that. Solskjaer's obviously a big admirer of Harry Kane. And he says he's the type of calibre striker that Man United do need. But I can't obviously, see Man United getting Harry Kane, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, so like I mentioned, it's good that we're making plans for January. Solskjaer's transfer policy was during the summer, was to get, the recruitment of young British players, like we did do during the summer. Like I mentioned, it's looking very, very probable that we're going to sign Mario Mandzukic in January. I've already, given you the latest news about that. Obviously, we're set to get him for around £10 million, which is obviously, a cheap alternative. I think the club are set to hand him around an 18-month contract, because don't forget, recent reports did say that Mario Mandzukic's wage demands have been slashed in half, from $300,000 a week to £150,000 a week, in order to make his move to Manchester United. Don't forget, we inquired about getting Mario Mandzukic towards the back end of the transfer window. But obviously, we didn't end up getting him. My only element of concern I've got about Mario Mandzukic is that he's 33 years of age, and he is coming basically to an end of his footballing career. I'd probably say he's got probably couple of years left in him, maybe 3 years at the tops. But, Mario Mandzukic, the good thing is he can show the likes of Martial, Daniel James and Rashford how to be more effective in the box. Mario Mandzukic now is into his 5th season with Juventus, and obviously since the recommendation of Maurizio Sarri, Mario Mandzukic hasn't played a single minute under his belt. So obviously in that aspect he's served his 2 requirements at Juventus. He is still under contract with Juventus until 2021. And I think Juventus have actually been discussing his actual potential exit. So I think they've confirmed he will leave in January. But yeah, he's going to be our first signing in January, and he's also overall going to be Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's he's going to be our 4th signing overall under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era. But he's, like I mentioned, very, very cheap solution. And obviously, we're seeing him as a replacement for Romelu Lukaku. Don't forget, Solskjaer wants to bring another forward in. Obviously, we've got Musa Dembele on our agenda. He's obviously an out-and-out number 9, and I think he's another player, that, can assure Manchester United goals. Don't forget, if we are to go in for him in January or next summer, Moussa Dembele, I do presume, will cost the club a substantial amount. We'll probably have to pay around 60 or 70 million pounds for him. Moussa Dembele has actually played in the Premier League, because don't forget, when he was younger, he began his senior career with Fulham. He also then, after Fulham, had a couple of years with Celtic, and obviously now he's at Lyon. He's Moussa Dembele. He's into his second season with Lyon, and I think he's feeling happy with them now. Lyon did pay around £20 million to him last summer from Celtic, and he's still under contract with Lyon until 2023. So he's another player on our agenda. I still believe Jadon Sancho's on our agenda. Obviously, we do know a lot of speculations being going on earlier on this week about James Maddison. I think if we are to get him, it's probably probable that we'll go in for him next summer. But I think we could also, go in for him in January. Obviously, the news regarding James Maddison actually, stemmed from David Ornstein earlier on this week, and he's actually a reliable journalist, and he allegedly said that he'd been told by all parties that Manchester United are expected to sign him within the next year. Again, James Maddison will cost the club a substantial amount. Probably will have to pay around 60 or 70 million pounds for his services, because Leicester do know deep down how much of an imperative player he is. And James Maddison is predominantly an attacking midfielder, even though Brendan Rodgers has played him on the right quite a few times. But he can score goals, he can provide, he can also create chances, like he did prove last season, because last season James Maddison created more chances than any other player. And he has still got 4 years left on his current contract with Leicester, and he's only 22 years of age. So I'd love him at Manchester United. We're probably actually seeing him as an adequate replacement for Paul Pogba. And even if Paul Pogba is to stay anyway, we still need at least one midfielder, because we do need to recruit a replacement for Ander Herrera. And I think that was another mistake from Man United, letting Ander Herrera go, because you could arguably say that Ander Herrera, was one of our best players since the Alex Ferguson era. Obviously Ander Herrera now is into his 5th season. Ander Herrera, I'd say, had 3.5, 4 good years out of the 5 years he was at Manchester United, and it infuriated me more anyway that we let Ander Herrera go on a free transfer. So we should have never let him go. We should have never let him go. But yeah, I'd love James Maddison in our midfield, because he would have depth in our midfield. But we'll see, who we can try and get in January, and of course next summer. Like I mentioned, but Solsjaker anywhere has been assured money to spend in January, because I do presume that he still will be here by January. I think he'll probably be here at least for this season, because I think the board did assure at the start of this season that regardless of what happens this season, Solskjaer's job should be safe, because I think the board realised that they didn't back him enough during the course of the summer. But yeah, so I think, like I mentioned, us getting rid of him now, wouldn't solve a lot of problems. He did say the other week how much it would cost Man United, by the way, to sack Solskjaer, and reportedly, would have to pay around £7 million in compensation to get rid of him. And that's around, is it half or just more than half than what we paid to get rid of Jose Mourinho? Because we paid around 19 or £20 million to get rid of Jose Mourinho. So I will also, take that into account. But there's still a lot of players in our squad, that do need to step up to the plate, definitely, because there's a lot of players this season that have been underperforming, like I mentioned. But, there's still plenty of time, to turn things around. Like I mentioned, we have got a lot of young players in the squad, that are developing and trying to improve at Manchester United. Like I mentioned, I've got some element of concerns about certain young upcoming players. I think maybe Man United, do need to, consider, loaning some of the young upcoming players out, because maybe they're not good enough to represent Man United, or, they need to be loaned out to gain more experience. So I don't know, but I kind of sure that definitely Mason Greenwood, Alex Tuanzebe, and I also believe that Brandon Williams, maybe even James Garner, they could all become successes at Manchester United, hopefully, because we have seen glimpses of how good they can be. These question marks around Solsjaker, why he hasn't started Mason Greenwood yet from the start in the Premier League. Obviously, Mason Greenwood, so far, I think in the league has made 6 substitute appearances. Actually, hasn't been involved quite recently. He obviously had illness early on this season. I think he also, not too long ago, had a back injury. I think he had the back injury during the international break at Greenwood. But he only turned 18 years of age at the beginning of this month. And I think by the time he's 23, 24, he can become a world-class centre forward for Manchester United and Greenwood. And I've got, the same perception like I mentioned on Alex Tuanzebe. I think McTominay's also done really, really well this season. He isn't a world-class midfielder. McTominay, in regards to him being a long-term solution for Man United, I have got element of concerns about that. And obviously I've got the same perception on Fred of what I've got of McTominay. Fred, I don't know if he's a long-term solution for Man United. But, a lot of people, obviously have got huge doubts about Fred and, they don't think, he's good enough to represent the football club. Quite recently, McTominay's been playing alongside Fred in our midfield. We did overpay for Fred, I will agree on that aspect. We paid just under £50 million to him last summer from Shakhtar Donetsk. Obviously, he's on that list of one of our most expensive signings. And he's had the odd good game here and there for Man United as Fred, but hasn't performed to the standards as we should expect. But to be fair, when he was at Shakhtar Donetsk, he was an exceptional player, was Fred. But so I think he deserves more time at the club because, he's only been here since last summer. My overarching view on Andres Pereira is that I think he had a really, really good game against Liverpool, did Andres Pereira. Obviously quite a few times this season he has been playing out on the right. But to be fair, I thought, the attacking trio, Rashford, Daniel James and Andres Pereira all did really, really well in the game against Liverpool. They caused Liverpool problems, like I mentioned. Rashford, was getting runs in behind, which was very, very good to see. Talking about Rashford, he hasn't performed to the standards as we all expected, and he has been mainly inconsistent this season. But, Rashford's had 2 good games this season. He had a good game against Liverpool. He had a good game on the opening day this season against Chelsea. But so I'd still say, Rashford and, is the long-term solution for Manchester United. So, I said regardless of who our manager is now anyway, regardless who our manager is, no one can invoke Ferguson's legacy at the football club, and definitely Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can't invoke Ferguson's legacy to save him at Manchester United. We'll just never replicate what we did under Alex Ferguson, because we had 20-odd years of success under Ferguson. We won the vast majority of our silverware under Alex Ferguson. We won 38 trophies under Alex Ferguson's guidance. Ferguson bossed the transfer windows. He controlled a lot of the transfer policies and he controlled a lot of the contracts. Like I mentioned, he did develop a lot of young players. But take into account, Ferguson didn't settle in straight away. Ferguson, it took him 4 years. It took him 4 years, to win anything with Manchester United. But we do know now, it's not the old generation anymore, it's the new generation. And we do know that the boards are a lot more ruthless and managers, don't get the time that they would like. But, no, we'll never be the team, that we was under Alex Ferguson. So we've obviously now got to accept that. I don't want Man United anywhere to sack another manager, because we haven't really got all the structure to keep sacking managers, because obviously, we've already sacked 3 managers since the Ferguson era. Obviously, we recommended David Moyes in, well, it was actually Ferguson at the time that recommended, David Moyes in. Moyes he lasted 10 months at Manchester United, so he only had a really, really short tenure with the football club. We spent around £67 million under Moyes. He brought Martin Fellaini, and then obviously we recommended, Louis van Gaal. And after that, I think Louis van Gaal lasted like a year and a half at the football club. But I just don't think his philosophy was right. And, he did get the sack after that year and a half or so, despite the fact that he did win the FA Cup. Louis van Gaal, he still plays the actually now from the Louis van Gaal era. Louis van Gaal brought quite a lot of players in. He brought the likes of Di Maria in, who we paid just under £60 million for. And I thought he enjoyed a good start under the Louis van Gaal where he did Di Maria. And that could be another mistake for Man United, getting rid of him. He brought the likes of Shaw, who's still here, Martial. He brought the likes of Blinding. He brought Blinding. He brought Falcao in. He brought Morgan Schneiderlin in, Sebastian Schweinsteiger. So, Louis van Gaal, brought quite a lot of players in. I think spent just over £200 million. Then obviously we recommended Jose Mourinho into the football club. He obviously had 2.5 years at Manchester United. He actually had the longest tenure with the football club. Since the Alex Ferguson era. Like I mentioned, he recommended 11 players in, and he spent just around, was it 400 million or just under 400 million pounds on players. Mourinho obviously brought the likes of Lukaku, Sanchez, I think Sanchez, Bay, that was actually his first signing there was Bay. Obviously brought Lindelof in. Who else did he bring in? He brought a load of players. Did Jose Mourinho. He obviously brought Matic in. He's another player he brought in. He brought Diego Dalot. He brought Fred. He brought Lee Grant. He did bring Lukaku and Sanchez, like I mentioned, but obviously now where they have left. But I already explained, the reasons why it didn't work out under the Jose Mourinho era, because he had bad disputes with the board. He had a lot of bad disputes with the top players. The board weren't backing the signings that he wanted to recommend into the football club last summer. And I think one mistake Ferguson made was recommending Morrison. So I think you could arguably say that we should have recommended Jose Mourinho in after Ferguson's retirement. If we had done, maybe it would have been a different sort of scenario with Manchester United. But Mourinho did win the FA Cup not the FA Cup, sorry, the Europa League and the League Cup in his first season with Man United. But it's actually worse under the Solskjaer era now than what it was under the Jose Mourinho era. But hopefully now, things, can turn around at the football club. But I'm hopeful that can happen anywhere. Hopefully anywhere. Definitely hopeful that can happen. So the amount of money that's been spent at Man United is, I think we've invested around, is it £700-800 million in the last 6 or 7 years in all the managerial eras since the Ferguson era, and that's just under £1 billion that we spent at the football club, and that's actually not taking into account what was spent under Ferguson. We haven't only spent big on players, we've also got players on, substantial wages, and, we've obviously sorted them contract renewals out, which is very, very good. I was happy that Greenwood and Brandon Williams got new contracts recently, but you've got Rashford, who's obviously on, 300 grand a week at just the age of 21. You've got Martial on 200 grand a week. You've got Pogba on 290 grand a week. You've got Harry Maguire on 200 grand a week. Lingard on just over 100 grand a week. You've got David De Gea, who's on 375 grand a week. David De Gea is the highest paid goalkeeper in the world now, and obviously the highest paid at the football club. So we have got players on big contracts at Manchester United. And I think we should have actually got a director of football during the course of the summer, and obviously this is something else I was not happy about, because I did initially say that's one of the structural changes that we do need at the football club is getting a new director of football. And during the summer, don't forget, there was quite a few former Manchester United players linked with that director's role. We know the other week there was a lot of speculation about Edwin van der Sar, but I did actually say, if we had to get a director of football, it would be beneficial to recommend someone who knows the traditions of the club, someone who knows the club, someone who obviously has got that experience, and someone who would be reliable to obviously our transfer business. And like I mentioned, Edwin van der Sar for me would be the right candidate. But he did actually pinpoint out at some point in his future, Edwin van der Sar, that he could make a return to the football club. But you could argue to say if we'd have got that director of football in during the summer, then maybe Solskjaer would have been back to more in that aspect. Like I mentioned, there has been a list of managers on our agenda anyway, that could replace Solskjaer at the football club, as you all know. there's been a lot of managers on our agenda, but we do know there's been a lot of talks, about Max Allegri, for quite a long time now. Well, for a matter of weeks, anyway, reportedly we've identified him as our primary candidate to replace Ole Gunnar Solsjaker at the football club. So if Solskjaer was to be sacked, then it would be more than likely that Max Allegri, would be our next permanent manager. If he was to come in, he would be our fifth permanent manager since the Alex Ferguson era. It recently said anyway that Max Allegri was in discussions with a football club regarding his salary, what he would earn if he was, to become Manchester United's next manager. He did quote out, he would get around 6.5 million a year, maybe just a bit more. And he actually did say he was learning English in preparation for his potential move to Man United. But Max Allegri, a lot of Man United fans believe he would be the right candidate. Obviously, he's never managed in the Premier League. Obviously, he's spent the entirety of his career in Italy managing. He also spent the entirety of his playing career in Italy. But Max Allegri did step down as Juventus manager at the end of last season. He had a 5-year tenure with Juventus. Led Juventus to 5 consecutive Serie A titles, also won I think around 4 Coppa Italians with them, and also got them to 2 Champions League finals. But he is currently managerless at the moment. There was a few things he assured that he wanted to do. If he was, to become Man United's next boss, he wanted to recommend Patrice Evering as one of his coaching staff. He also wanted to recommend Mario Mandzukic and Emre Can to Manchester United. But I don't see Max Allegri coming in at this present time, because I do believe, because I do, believe that the club are going to stick with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Maybe, not for the long term. It won't be the long term future for Man United, but I do believe probably at least till January, or we'll give him at least until the end of the season, to see what he can do. But don't forget, before we, recommended Solskjaer in, there was actually quite a few managers on our agenda. This was obviously after the sacking of Jose Mourinho. Obviously, we went in for Pochettino. Pochettino was actually my top priority at the time. He did actually say if we are to, reignite our interest in Pochettino, it's more than likely, we'd have to pay around 32 million in compensation, despite the fact that he hasn't got a release clause in his contract. Pochettino only signed a 5-year contract with Tottenham last summer, worth around £8.5 million a year. Yeah. And obviously, Pochettino is under serious pressure at Tottenham, basically, reflecting on Tottenham's bad start to the season. And Tottenham should be much more of a commanding position, reflecting on, the transfer business they did. They did get quite a few good players in. But Pochettino, could end up, getting the sack. A lot of Man United fans believe maybe Pochettino would be the right candidate for the football club. Pochettino's got that managerial experience. The only element of concern about Pochettino that he hasn't won out in terms of silverware, and that's something he does need to do is Pochettino. But he's now into his 6th season with Tottenham. He's been there for 5 years. Obviously got them to their first ever Champions League final last season, don't forget. Obviously before he was at Tottenham, he had a really good short tenure with Southampton. But, he's been managing since 2009 as Pochettino, because he began his managerial career in 2009. So he's just over a decade he's been managing. He began his managerial career with Espanyol. But, we also went in for Zinedine Zidane. I think it was actually at the time, when he was managerless, Zinedine Zidane. But our preference was just Solskjaer, because obviously Solskjaer, knows the culture of the club, and obviously he was a cheaper solution, because we didn't really pay that much, to mould, to recommend him in anywhere. Yeah. But yeah, I will be on with some more live videos tomorrow, as I always am. Like I mentioned on my last video, my match reaction will be coming up after the game. If it isn't after the game, it might be later on tomorrow evening, or if it isn't, it will be Monday morning. I will be doing my match reaction just to let all you guys know about that. But yeah, and also, Leicester winning by 9-0 against Southampton, like he updated you on my video this morning. 9-0, biggest ever away win, in the Premier League. I think the last 9-0 I knew, before, yesterday, was Man United beating Ipswich 9-0 back in 1995, which was obviously, around 24, nearly 25 years ago now. But it doesn't happen, very, very often. But Leicester are now sitting there second in the league. So there could be possibly title contenders this season. I don't think they'll win the league. We know that they won it back in 2016, was it? But, under Claudio Ranieri. And obviously, Leicester are playing like they did, when they did win the league. But credit them, they did good investment during the summer. They've lost quite a few of their imperative players in recent years of Leicester. They lost Harry Maguire. They lost the likes of Mahrez last summer to City. They lost the likes of N'Golo Kante, won the league with Leicester, and then went on to win the league in his first season with Chelsea. They also lost Danny Drinkmore, so I do credit Leicester a lot. But I think they could definitely get a Champions League football this season. They could finish in the top four. But, my perception is I think, probably top four's already gone for Man United. So even if we do beat Norwich tomorrow, even if we do go on a winning run, I still think, top four is a doubt. There's still a possibility we could get it because there's still a long way to go in that. But we just have to hope now we start winning games, and we hope that, teams around that top four area, can drop points. Chelsea now have obviously started to regain form now. I think they've won now 7 on the trot in all competitions because Chelsea themselves enjoyed them a bad start to the season. But we've got to see what happens tomorrow. If we lose tomorrow, then I will definitely say that the top four is over basically. Even if we draw today, the top four is fully over. But I've actually disregarded anywhere. Yeah, so anyway guys, drop me comments, likes below on the channel. If you do consider subscribe, as always, and take care, God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.